Okay, today we're going out doing some scouting. First time me and Connor have really got to get out and look at some unfamiliar land. This summer we have literally already seen deer. I'm gonna go in, check things out. I'll give you a little look at how, it is thick as bugs on a bumper in here, but we're gonna go in here and see what we can find. We've been doing some map studies, and this is all 100% public land. This is another back to the things, anybody can do it. And this is what I refer to as coming in to put in the work. Getting in here, looking around, finding sign, not getting bit by snakes. The whole 9 yards. All starts here, and you gotta start somewhere. So, stick with us, and we'll show you what we come across. Okay, so if you look around, all the grass is tall, standing up. Well, if you look right here, it's all matted down. Looks like it could be a bedding area of some sort. We've come across a few older rubs. We're headed out to a spot that we pinpointed on a map that I want to come and look at. And we're finding all kinds of good sign from last year. Doesn't seem like anyone else has been out here. It's always a good sign. Taking notes of every little detail. Remember that, like if you got to take pictures of it to remind yourself, take the picture. Do whatever you've got to do to remind yourself, okay, this is where, if you don't have Onyx, get it. If you can't get it, use Google Maps. You can drop pins on Google Maps. And that'll help you remember, okay, this was a rub, this was a ground scrape, this is where I want to hunt at. So on and so forth. So, we're trying to push through this thick stuff and see what all we can come across. So this is something that we look for right here. Connor's posed up, so I had to get that on video. Anyway, so this is, you see this tree, limbs broken, ground was scraped to dirt. This is ground scrape. Honestly, it's probably from last deer season by my belief, but a lot of deer use scrapes year-round for several reasons. You look around, you find your sign. This is a good sign. There's a turtle shell right here up underneath the tree with the scrape. So that's pretty neat. We can call this spot the turtle scrape. Yeah, we can leave it marked on our map as the turtle scrape. But here's a view. This is a spot, obviously, deer have been coming through. We've picked up a few rubs back up the ridge here. But if you look, it rolls down into a creek bottom. And if you go down there by that creek and follow that creek, you're gonna pick up more rubs, older ground scrapes, 9 times out of 10. This is a good sign. This is a good look, especially considering that this is an older scrape. It hasn't been active. So this tells me deer move through here during deer season, during the fall, winter months. This could more than likely be their winter home range. Okay, so something Connor pointed out, it's always a good thing to keep in mind. We were up there across the log, and he said, hey, there's a pretty good creek crossing. So a lot of these creeks, as you can tell, get deeper. And a lot of you, look, I know the stuff I'm saying, a lot of you already know. There's some people that don't, so this is really for them. This is a shallow spot. One of the most shallow spots on the creek. Deer are gonna cross it if they have to. And we come down here and sure enough, there's deer tracks crossing. And there's actually a trail that runs up both sides of this. We're pushing on, making our way to the lake. Now, all the stuff that we talk about throughout this episode, take it, harness the information, use it to your advantage if you don't already know it. look for old sign. This is just tips for summer scouting. Right now it's midsummer, so these creeks are fairly dry. There's hardly any water. I mean, wherever you go and there's water, you're gonna see tracks. There are tracks right there. And that's where you can kind of set up your starting point. Set out a trail camera. You know, watch your trail camera. See what's coming to the water source in that area. I mean, right now, we're out here doing all this and it's July 23rd. So, I mean, you gotta start somewhere. And we just so happen to start most of the time earlier than everyone else. That way, we have a game plan before the last minute people come in and try to take over the area. And we already know generally where they're gonna sit, where they're gonna be at. Because most people, I would say 7 out of 10 people don't walk as far as we do. And then out of the 3 left over, 2 of the 3 don't make it quite as far as we do. Sign of luck. To me, this is a good sign. The hawk feather. Always a good sign. I don't know why, but red-tailed hawks have always kind of brought luck to me. So, we will push on and keep finding. This here's what it's all about. Tracks everywhere. We just seen a deer. We got all kinds of buck sign. We got all kinds of deer sign in general. Beaver, deer tracks, literally everywhere. So what we've done is we found the food source, the water source. We have found the deer. Very, yeah. This is a great bedding area. We've seen so many beds.
She was bedded on that point of the lake.
And look, all they have to do is just walk right over there to that water. I mean, now obviously, I'm not just gonna start telling everybody where we're at. So, what this is just a bunch of tips that we wanted to, you know, speak about to help you step up your game. Like, this is all filmed obviously on a iPhone. If you got a phone, you got a camera, you can film hunts. May not be the best quality, but you can do it.
Buzzer.
So, and look, this is a current view. We've seen deer, we've seen sign, we've seen rubs, we've seen scrapes. Now all that's left to do, now that we've found the area of attack, we want to find somewhere that we're going to sit. We're going to find where we're going to position ourselves. All of this, all of your scouting, all of your planning, your map checking, it has to be put into action. You take this action, you get out here, and you're paid off instantly whenever you have encounters like this from the planning that you've done. I mean, I'm not saying you have to spend every second of your life planning, but we have sat here, we have planned, and now we are in the drop zone pretty much. So apply everything. If you already know this stuff, good. If you don't know this stuff, apply everything that we've been talking about. Find your deer trails, find your scrapes, find your rubs. Push and push and push until you find your gold mine. Okay, so we found a spot that had a lot of activity. We got tracks absolutely everywhere. I mean, water. Right now it's summertime. They got plenty of stuff to eat around here. The only thing that they don't have plenty of is water. Well, we found the spot. So what we done, this may not be the spot we hunt, but just to get knowledge of what is around here, we put a camera right there. It's 100% legal to use your equipment on national forest, public land, WMA, whatever you may want to call it, or whatever your state calls it. So right now we're sticking this camera out at the water source because we may hunt over there. I mean, who knows, but there are deer right now coming to this water.
We just want to know if there's any big bucks, basically.
Yeah, so I mean,
Trying to get a count on what's in
and here's something else to remember. If you have a spot, you set out your camera, so on and so forth, and you don't get any pictures of bucks. I mean, you may not get them right away, but if you have does during rut, you're gonna have bucks. Majority of the time. Now, who was it that said if you're not seeing bucks, what was that saying that you heard?
If you're not spooking deer when you're walking in, then there's probably no deer there. So we just spooked we jumped 2 deer walking in.
And we seen that one on the road.
3. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's plenty of deer here. There's plenty of sign. Now we've done our part. I don't know how far our walk is out of here, but it's pretty good. We got our spot marked. That way we can come right back to it because we're unfamiliar with the place. And I'm telling you, by the time deer season gets here, or I mean at most by the time deer season ends, we'll know this place so good we won't even need a map anymore. So we're gonna pull on out of here and come back later on one day and check our cards, see what we got. Now we're headed over to a different place to check cameras we have put out. Stick with us on that. We are on them like stink on a dog turd. Okay, so we left the last location. We are now in a totally different county. Out here checking out cameras that we put out on the public land, what, about a month ago? 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, something like that. It's been a while since we've been out here. We're carrying a laptop. We ain't got one of those fancy card checkers. So we're going in there, see what we've got going on. Anything you want to add?
This is the spot that last year I've seen, I think, 11 bucks. So hopefully we get some of those back on camera.
Yeah, so stay tuned because whenever we get there, I'll...
Oh, and this is totally different terrain. Totally different land layout. Instead of a lake, it's a river bottom. So totally different. It goes from pines, then it drops down into oak flat, then it comes back up into kind of a mixture, and then it falls off into nothing but river bottom.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, my favorite type of woods to hunt. I like hunting the river bottoms. They just seem to produce more deer due to the fact they have plenty to eat, plenty to drink. And yeah, a lot of different features. I don't know if you heard them, but it's just a totally different game out here. What may work on one of your places you hunt, one of your spots, may be the totally opposite on the next. Keep that in mind. And it's definitely
Game cameras we're running, since this is about being sheep.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm gonna do is make a video to tell you guys, what girls, whoever, about what we're doing, what we're using. Like Connor just brought it up, we're using what, those $28 Walmart cameras?
Some of them are the $28 ones, some of them are the 2-pack for like $79, but this is over years of buying cameras. They're old, they only work halfway, but
I mean, cheap is cheap. I mean, you obviously, a lot of times, you know, you get what you pay for. But
the $28 camera from
yeah,
Tasco from Walmart, that's a good camera.
that's what I was about to say. The Walmart from the camera that you get from Walmart, the Tasco, it's like $30 after tax, you know. But it is actually a really good quality camera.
I haven't bought one recently. I bought the old one, but the worst thing about it is the time is in military time and you can't change it. That gets on my nerves.
So I mean, obviously, if you go cheap, you have to deal with what you get, but it's not a bad cheap. I mean,
I put the Tasco camera on the same tree as a Stealth Cam. Not the expensive Stealth Cam, but I got more pictures with the Tasco that I didn't even get with the Stealth Cam. So, I mean, there you go.
can't go wrong. There's something for everybody, especially if you're on a budget. And just because you're on a budget doesn't mean that what you're getting is just crappy. A lot of the stuff we do, we make ourselves or get as cheap as possible. So we're showing you, telling you all the stuff that we're doing. Maybe it'll help you, because right now, a lot of our stuff is paying off. There's somebody's old deer stud. Okay, so in my experience, we're in what we call a thicket right now. Oh yeah, big old banana spider. I mean, he's a big boy. Anyhow, in my experience, hunting thickets pays off big time. And there are a lot of things about a thicket that make a buck, a good buck, deer in general, but a good buck comfortable. They feel more hidden. They feel like you can't see them as easily. They have all the nutrients they need as far as their food goes. Like right here in this particular thicket, there's obviously small trees, but there's big oaks in the mix, dropping acorns. And they're sitting here just, they have an all-you-can-eat buffet. Something else about a thicket, a lot of times you'll have a down log. Those good bucks will walk beside a log because it feels like it hides them. And obviously out here in the woods, you're gonna find a lot of down logs. So I feel like that could be something you could add to your skills, your woodsmanship. Check thickets, check for ground scrapes, check for rubs, check for any sign, deer tracks. If you can find a thicket that has water beside it, like we have found over here, I mean, then you got food source and water source, so why does the deer need to leave? Big bucks, generally, in my experience, they don't travel too far. Whenever they rut, all deer, you know, they can range out, but a big buck sticks with his home range most of the time from, like I said, my experience. Go out there and get your own experience. You could experience something completely different. But we're easing up right now onto the first camera, and we're gonna see the activity that we have gotten. Connor's pulling the card now, so let's see what we. Okay, so we just checked the trail cam. Did not have what we wanted on it at all. Very few pictures, like maybe 15, and they were just black and white pictures at night. So what we're gonna do, like last year, whenever we put the cameras here, we had a good look at some good bucks. This year, same time, it's not looking so great for us. So we're gonna relocate the camera, try something different, try a new location, not too far away, but right in the same vicinity, and leave it alone. We're gonna watch, because I mean, getting that information, this tells us, okay, well, if we had to come out here right now and hunt to save our lives, would we kill any? Are we seeing the majority of our deer here? No, we're not. So, which would tell us, okay, why would I hunt there to save my life? if the majority of our deer are not right there. So what we're doing now, we're gonna find a new spot, hang the camera, look for better sign, see what we can get there, and we'll work it out from there. Okay, so we're at camera number 2. Let's hope that it took pictures. But guys, you're gonna have to bear with us. Like you're like, oh, this guy can't breathe. No, how hot you think it is out here?
It is hot.
100 something. Okay, so we had a kind of a technical difficulty on the last camera. It was on, it was working, but we for some reason didn't get any pictures even of us walking up to it. We're gonna give it another try, but we moved it. Just want to point out, like, this is kind of like what we look for when we're hunting. You know, you got river bottom.
Did you turn it on?
Yes. And right back here, you can't really see it, but there's water right there. There's a water source. The river is directly that way. I mean, this is everything you look for. These big oaks supply plenty of acorns. There's plenty of coverage. There's plenty of openings. The whole shebang is right here. This whole entire section of land is just one deer hunter's dream. But for whatever reason, these deer are tough to find.
I think it's still early. We still got months before deer season. And once the bucks start growing their horns and rubbing the velvet, it'd be way easier to locate buck sign.
Yeah, that's true. But right now we're just going pretty much blind off of what we remember from last year, just to see if we can see something.
We're just trying to get
Like,
a head count on what's out there.
yeah, and that's what we do to get a better strategy instead of waiting.
If we don't get anything, we move the circle closer, until we get activity on the camera. Then we go from there.
Because you keep waiting, you're going to be like every other Joe out there. You're going to be going out at the same time as everybody else, having to fight over a hunting spot. And if you have something marked, most of the time you have a lot of hunters that have common courtesy. They won't come in, mess with your stuff. But, I mean, that's not everybody. A lot of people, they're not courteous, to say the least. So, we're going to let this stuff simmer. We're going to pull out of the woods for today. Connor wants to go on another 5-mile extravaganza before we leave, apparently. At 104 degrees outside.